I'm taking class for Standard 5 and students, I have already begun with this topic called India, location and its extent. I have completed almost half of this topic. Hope you all have gone through your textbooks and read your English well. Today I shall continue with the same topic where we were exploring the land of our country, correct, in detail. So we have seen the location of India in detail, where it is located on the world map, right? We have seen, I have already started with important features what we have in India, and we have already seen the main physical divisions of India. Physically, India is divided into different types of landforms. As we know, we have first division as the Great Northern Mountain Wall, that is Himalayas, which are also the great and the tallest and the youngest mountains of the world. The second division is, it extends from the peaks of Himalayas called the Great Northern Plains of India. They are also most fertile plains of the world, and as I have told you earlier, these plains are the most populated regions of India because of the fertile soil, because of the many rivers flowing through it. Okay, so people, obviously we have seen when the civilization flourished, people preferred ancient times to live along the bank of the river where they can carry on with their farming as the main activity even during earlier times. So today, students, we shall be exploring our land in detail in the form of third division. That is, what you see on the screen is the Thar Desert. This forms the major physical division of India. Now, whenever you visualize or try to think about a desert, always we are scared of, because nobody would prefer to live in a desert, right? Because of the harsh climatic condition. And in India, we have the Great Indian Desert, where you can see sand, sand and sand only, right? So this is the location of Thar Desert in India. It is located along the northwest margin of India. Okay, and here is the picture which shows you where it is. Around 80% part, 85% of this Thar Desert is within India. Okay, and 20 or 25% of this Thar Desert it continues into Pakistan. So this Thar Desert also marks as an international boundary between the two countries. Okay, that is very important. Also, although it is major part, Thar Desert is located in Rajasthan, but minor parts or the other boundaries also it shares with states like Punjab, Haryana and Gujarat also. Okay, now it is a very important place. Place in the sense, although it looks to be a very sandy region, like we know, camel, hardly there are animals or any plant species found here, and hardly there is any water. But do you know, students, it is the most populated desert of the world. As we know, we have great deserts of the world. Okay, and this is in India. This ranks the 18th desert of the world. So, but I said it is also the most civilized desert of the world. If you go to Sahara Desert or any desert of the world across in any continent, hardly you will find any population living there, because people will not opt for this harsh climatic condition. But when I say this civilized, in India, 40% of Rajasthan population is settled in Rajasthan. Desert of Rajasthan, especially in Thar Desert. Besides having the climatic condition harsh, correct? The reason is that many civilizations also have, evolved in this Thar Desert, because we have the most structured form in this desert. For example, we have well-developed road networks or well-developed human settlements, and there are sources of water also. So many oases are there in this desert. So that's why although we have the only desert in India located, but it is the most populous desert also. Okay, so this is all about the Thar Desert of India. Okay, that marks the huge major physical division of India. Very, very important. The next physical division of India we have at the base of the Himalayan, that is Great Northern Plains of India. Towards the northwest we have seen the Thar Desert. At the base of these northern plains, continuation with the along towards the south of Thar Desert, we have another physical division called the Great Plateau of Peninsular India. Now, I have already discussed why India is called Peninsula. Correct? Because on all three sides you can see it is surrounded by the three main water bodies, that is your Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean. Correct? Right, here you can see how the Peninsula India or how the Great Plateau, this entire region what is exposed on this screen will show you the region of Peninsula India, okay, or it is entirely an uplifted land, okay. Now, you know the difference between mountain and a plateau. When I say mountain, you always visualize a land which is raised, which is having pointed peaks, right? When I talk about a plateau, it is also a raised land, but here it has a flat top. Correct? That's the difference between mountain and a plateau. So imagine this is a totally uplifted land, and again this entire region, that is the entire Peninsula India, is divided into several other physical divisions also. We are going to see in detail. So within Great Plateau Peninsula India, we have smaller plateaus, we have mountain ranges also, we have some plains also. It is not entirely a plateau region, but it is a very important region of this particular country. Okay, so we have a region called Deccan Plateau, region called Malwa Plateau. These are smaller plateaus within this major region. We have smaller mountain ranges compared to Himalayas. They are not very tall mountains, or they don't go as a long chains, but they stand as tall mountains compared to Himalayas. They are shorter in height. Okay, so we have one of the range of mountain here called Vindhya range. Then we have Satpura range. We have Aravallis. Again, these are very important. And of course, since Goa is located along the southwest margin of India, we know we have the great mountain ranges again along as the Western Ghats, as Eastern Ghats. In that we have Sahyadris, Nilgiris, Anaimalai, Cardamom Hills. These are in the Western Ghats, and the eastern coast we have Eastern Ghats. Okay, so this is the physical map of India, where this entire portion, what you can see here, yellow portion is the Peninsular region. Here this is Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Malwa Plateau, and entire towards the south we have the Deccan Plateau. Okay, this is better picture I am showing here. Like we can see here Aravalli ranges, here Vindhyan range, these are the mountain ranges, here the Satpura range, then we have the Western Ghats along the western margin of India, Eastern Ghats along the eastern margin of India. Now first we'll see the minor divisions within Peninsula Plateau. This is yellow portion what is exposed here is the Malwa Plateau. It is located at the southern portion of Rajasthan. Malwa Plateau has a great importance historically, economically, politically, because many we can see the civilization flourish through it. Many kingdoms, many warriors have been there, okay, ruling, and they have great historical background. And in this particular region, it is most important part of our country also, besides sharing cultural, historical background. Okay, many kingdoms have flourished in this plateau. Okay, it has very thick forest. Okay, entirely it is an uplifted land. And pretty important thing about Malwa Plateau, besides the other features, it has been especially the centers like Ujjain, okay, and especially the centers like Indore, the city is the largest city and the commercial center of Rajasthan. Very important places are located here, and it is very famous for wheat cultivation. Okay, like a huge cultivation of wheat is done here in this plateau, very fertile type of soil, and soya bean. It is very famous for soya bean also. So this is a Malwa Plateau which is located in this particular place. Okay. Then we have the next plateau is the this is how the picture of Malwa Plateau. If you take the aerial view, this is how it is going to be. Okay, you can see the thick forest cover, you can see the plateau tableland. Actually, you cannot see the pointed peaks anywhere here, right? So this is the next region of the Peninsular India, that is the Deccan Plateau. Now, the place where I have shown in the map, this entire southern part of India is the Deccan Plateau. Again, very important uplifted land with a flat table-like structure. Okay, so it extends over 8 Indian states. That's why it's a huge southern part of the country. It was in the ancient time, it was referred as Deccan or Dakkan. Dakkan in the Sanskrit means it's the direction, that is Dakshin. Since it is located towards the south, Dakshin is south direction. That's why it was by the people, ancient people, it was referred as by the kings and the kingdoms, whoever came into existence, ruled this area. They found this plateau very wealthy because of the great mineral content in it. Okay, economic point of view, this plateau is very important even today. Okay, and the states which it covers is Telangana, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. All the southern states of India. Okay, so again, if I talk about Deccan Plateau, it's very important because of the forest cover, because of the mineral wealth, right? Important cities located in it, and it has the most oldest forest of the India located in the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so it has rich wildlife also along with the rich plant heritage. Okay, that's why it is very important to know about Deccan Plateau and its location. So next is the Vindhyan range. I have shown you Vindhyan range. You can see your Vindhyas and Satpuras. These are two very important ranges, and the boundary between these huge mountain ranges, Vindhya and Satpura, is the river flowing here, river Narmada. It marks a natural boundary between the two ranges. So this is a picture of the Vindhya range. You can see here. Now it passes through states of Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Vindhya range, and Satpura, that is towards the south of Narmada river. We have Satpura range, that is Madhya Pradesh. It passes through Chhattisgarh, Bihar and Maharashtra. Okay, these are the two important mountain ranges we have in India. Besides Himalayas, besides Western Ghats, these also play very important role. Rich heritage, rich culture, rich history. Okay, the next important mountain range is Aravallis. Now, if you see Aravallis, this is somewhere here, right at the southern part of Thar Desert. Okay, Aravallis play very important role again. Geographically, it's very important mountain. These are also very important because they are the oldest mountains of India. We know Himalayas are the youngest mountains in the world. In India, if somebody is asking you as a general knowledge, you should know these are the oldest mountains of India, first formed mountains in India. Okay, that is called Aravallis. Running approximately around a long stretch of 692 kilometers in a southwest direction, starting right from Delhi, passing through southern Haryana, Rajasthan, and it ends in Gujarat. Highest peak in these is Guru Shikhar. The height of it is about 1722 meters, that is above sea level. See the picture? Okay, it has great forest also. Okay, the next important mountain ranges of India where we are surrounded with is the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. So term Western Ghats is all the mountain system. Since it is towards the western coast, it runs parallel to the western coast of India, southwest coast. This is the orange color showing you the location of the Western Ghats. You can see right from Tropic of Cancer or from Gujarat area from the western side, it moves up to Kerala, correct, southern part. And as Eastern Ghats towards the eastern margin, what yellow portion is shown here is your Western and the Eastern Ghats. Again, they are very important mountain ranges, correct, because especially for the monsoon winds, when we have rainy season, these mountains block the rain clouds, okay, and we get ample amount of rainfall in the southern part of India, where the monsoon winds come from Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, so they play unique role Okay, if there were no Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, we wouldn't get any rainfall in the southern part of India. Clouds would be stopped by any barrier. So this is the role of Western Ghats. Within Western Ghats, students, again these Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats are broken into smaller pieces of lands or smaller mountain ranges. Like we have Sihagris. You can see the picture of Sihagris. If you go to Mumbai via road, okay, roadways, you can see a huge plateau, Deccan Plateau tracks, and along there you have to go across the huge mountainous region. That's part of your Western Ghats, Sihagris. You can see how tall they stand, how green they are, how rich source, okay, of flora and fauna. Then we have something called at the tip, that is where the Western and the Eastern Ghats meet almost towards the southern tip. We have something called Nilgiri Hills, Annamalai and Cardamom Hills. Okay, so this is the picture of the Western Ghats aerial view. This is Anamudi, the highest peak in Western Ghats. Very important. Even in the textbook it is given. Highest peak in the Western Ghats, like we have the highest mountain peak of the world, Mount Everest, standing very tall in Himalayas. In the southern part of India, in the Western Ghats, this is the highest mountain peak called Anamudi. Okay, so you can see the location of Anamudi here on the map also, right? Now we are going to talk about Eastern Ghats. Now Eastern Ghats obviously run parallel to the eastern coast of India. This is a picture again, they stand very tall, huge mountain range. Okay, but if you compare it with Western Ghats is a huge, long, continuous chain. If you look at the Eastern Ghats, it's a broken mountain chain. Make a note of it. This is the difference between the Western and the Eastern Ghats. Plus, Western Ghats comparatively stand very tall compared to the Eastern Ghats. They are, quite shorter in height. So this is the picture. This is how the location of the Eastern Ghats in the Indian map. Okay. Now the Nilgiri Hills, part of the Western Ghats. Okay. Again, you can see the location of the Nilgiris, where the Western and the Eastern Ghats almost meet. That's the point where we have the great Nilgiri Hills. It's a hill station also today. It's a very beautiful place, not of great height, but it refers to as the full station also. The next physical division of India is the coastal plains. Now whatever runs parallel along the Arabian Sea from the Western Ghats and from the Eastern Ghats towards the coast, Bay of Bengal, we have the huge coastal plains. We are very lucky, blessed to have this wide coastal plain in India. That's why today India, or the coastal plains or coast of India, especially Goa, we have the tourist destination spot because we have good beaches in Goa. So these coastal plains again lie along the Western Ghats and between the Arabian Sea, Eastern Ghats and Bay of Bengal, wide range or wide coast. Okay, so this marks the major division of India. Again, economically very important because it is a very good fertile soil along the coastal part of India, along for fishing, for ports, harbors. Various stations are located and we can interact economically, or we can through the ocean, okay, it is connecting to the other parts of the world. So it plays very important role. This is the location of the coastal plains of India, students. So you can see here we have the west coast plain and the east coast plain. West coastal plain is again divided as Konkan coast, okay, coastline. Then we have the Malabar coast right into Kerala, the tip that is Kanyakumari, that's the last point of Indian subcontinent, right? And from the eastern coast we have the northern Sikhas, and it is divided as Coromandel coast. Okay, so these are the western and the eastern coastal plains of India. This marks another division. So this is another picture of the western coast. Since we live in Goa, we are along the western coast of India. We have good plains, good beaches, right? So this is the map showing the Konkan coast. We all have seen this because we are on the coastal plain. So this is the picture of the eastern coast of India. Okay, the last division of India is something called the group of Indian islands. Besides mountains, besides plateaus, besides plains and deserts and other plateaus, we have the last group of India as a piece of land which is into water bodies, like in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal group. We have major two group of islands, that is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, so the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal and Lakshadweep Island in Arabian Sea. So this is the picture of the Lakshadweep Island. Okay, how big it is a small piece of island, but if you compare with the Andaman and Nicobar Island, it is a group or chain of islands together. That's the difference. Okay, so this chain or group of islands here, around 200-300 islands together. Okay, most of the islands are habited, that is people can live. This is of volcanic origin, since there was a huge explosion of the lava. Okay, they have been formed, and still there are islands which there is no vegetation at all, so life cannot flourish on these islands, but most of them are with the habitat or people living, staying on it. So this group or chain of islands is called archipelago. Very, very important. As we have learned, the term, new term maybe. Archipelago is a chain or group of islands, and that is the best example we have in India, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay. Now, also good aquatic life we have, marine life into it. Okay. So this is a very beautiful islands of India, where even today it is known for tourist destinations. Okay, and this is all about the physical